Hello, Delane and Mike. What a treat to speak to you. It's Ellie Taylor here. I love the sound of your podcast. It smells like potential. That is a rewatch podcast for Ted Lasso. How cool is that? Love that idea. And you speak to teachers on lessons from Ted Lasso, and you'd love to share inspiring words about self-care. Anything that I have to say. Wow. For me, taking time out to just stand on some grass with some bare feet and look at some nature after a busy day in London in the hustle and bustle and sweat of everyone on the trains. And I think self-care is, just taking time to put yourself first occasionally, which I think is really hard in everyday life. There's always something else to do, isn't there? Something we need to tick off the list. Busy, but sometimes you need to make time to do something for you rather than just something on the to-do list. Something that's actually going to help your brain and your body and help you feel better and calmer. Do you know what I love to do? I love to put on a podcast and tidy up. Oh, what's self-care? But it does feel like that, just taking some time to do something sort of really mindful, where I can't do anything else apart from the task in hand and listen to clever people say interesting or funny things. People who do things like your podcast.
Welcome to Smells Like Potential, the rewatch podcast you didn't know you needed. Deborah and Rebecca have an intense, raw, and honest conversation in the wake of Mr. Welton's passing. Ted tells Dr. Sharon everything he's been bottling up for years. Keely and Roy process death in very different ways, and we cheer on Sassy for being sassy to Rupert.
And speaking of sassy, how about a big shout out to our new friend Ellie Taylor for sharing her wisdom on self-care. This topic is woven throughout the show, of course, but is more needed than ever in this heavy episode. So as Delane mentioned, there's a funeral in this episode, and it forces all of the characters to explore their own feelings about death, the afterlife, and whether or not they should be avenged. Higgins kicks it off. He dreams of a heaven where humans are pets to animals, and he's looking forward to being reunited with Cindy Clawford.
What do you think that says about his character?
I think he really misses his cat. I think what it means is he's someone who cherishes his pets. He wants to be cherished in that way. I think he deserves and wants to be appreciated. And Nate, of course, does not disappoint. He, true to his arc this season, he says tiger so he could ravage anyone that looked at him wrong. And Beard, he launches off into a discussion about the research that was done, and I put research in quotes there, you couldn't see it, about the weight of a body just before death and right after death, 21.3 grams lighter, and it's potentially the weight of the soul. But in typical Beard fashion, he goes completely off topic and goes into something he clearly had read. Keely, is she now an unofficial member of the Diamond Dogs? She's standing in the sort of circle where they typically meet. She hopes to be buried and nourish a tree that bears fruit. She suggests this to Sassy, who says, yeah, I'd like to be a tree or a really stupid dog. So I feel like she and Higgins might be
in the same afterlife.
I think you're right. And then later in the episode, Roy, who has a very dismissive perspective of death in general and funerals specifically, realizes that his attitude this whole day has really upset Keely, who takes it very seriously. He's very moved by Rebecca's loss. He tells her he was already struggling with the funeral and he apologizes. So it's his own coping mechanism. He recognizes it and takes care of Keely in that situation.
We also got to see Rupert in this episode. I don't understand why he would even want to go. What is it that he has to prove? So he brings Bex and baby Diane.
They have already had the baby?
They have already had the baby. Did you notice the nanny in the background?
I did. She never moved. I thought she was a statue for a second.
I noticed that she was a bit older.
Yes.
Do you think that was intentional by Bex to pick an older nanny?
I think that's wise on her part.
Knowing what she knows.
Past practice.
And they brought a nanny to a funeral. Oh my gosh. So that was a really interesting way for Rupert to dig at Rebecca on what might be one of the worst days of her life.
Yeah, it felt very performative and personal. And
it's tacky, just so tacky of Rupert. Yeah. But I greatly enjoyed Sassy taking Rupert down.
Sassy for the win. I want her in every episode.
Deborah eventually told us why Rupert was there. And it was, you cannot let them know that they get to you. And Sassy has been that rock for Rebecca since day one. She's never let Rupert know that she's gotten to her. And so Sassy's saying that she would be a beacon of joy at Rupert's own funeral. Thank you, girl.
She'd bring joy to the other 3 attendees.
All 3 attendees at Rupert's funeral. And then, even though this is a rewatch, it is still so shady that Rupert, air quote, gifted Bex's shares of the club to Rebecca. And I remember the first time that I watched this episode, I said, hold on, hold on, hold on, and had to look up. When you want to buy a club, you can't own parts of any other clubs.
So you made that leap.
I did. I thought this is the only reason. Rupert said no time for footy, and I was like, no.
And I wonder if Rebecca got that too, because she says, oh, like a funeral gift. Was that just her being sort of catty back at him, or did she realize, oh, I bet he's trying to angle for something?
He's always wanting something. It's always a game.
Well, so speaking of that, then what does he do on his way out from the funeral?
He whispers in Nate's ear.
And we can't hear it, but we see Nate's reaction, which is a smile and a nod.
I'm going to say it, Emperor Palpatine. Full-on Star Wars moment.
And he's the Darth Vader. And I think he just bought him a new Death Star.
I cannot believe that he would use a funeral to try to undermine Rebecca in so many different ways. So what's up with Nate? He can't even do a simple condolence. He feels like he has to do something special when really that's all that's needed is, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And he's trying to say something about training wheels. Like, come on, Nate. And Keeley tries to fix his tie and says, is that the suit that Ted bought you?
In front of the other teammates.
Oh.
It's just awful.
And then, of course, Jan Moss is right there.
He states the obvious. He's like, oh, yes, having clothes bought by another man is infantilizing, is it not?
Ooh. So Nate's already struggling. That suit keeps getting tighter and tighter. It will not fit. So he's literally outgrowing Ted from this suit. To have multiple people say, is that the suit that Ted bought you?
Right.
But then Nate makes it worse. What does he say?
He's like, no, it's not true that Ted buys me all my clothes. My mom gives me most of them, which is like the worst thing to say.
For an adult man to admit. Terrible. So Rupert coming to his rescue and saying something to make him smile at the end of what's probably already an awkward day for him. No.
Yeah, he was so happy to have that attention. It was very clear.
Right. And then I wanted to make note that the Christmas gift that Nate gave to Ted was a photo with an inscribed note. That is on Ted's chest of drawers in his house, next to a photo of his son. What do you think Ted feels about that relationship?
I think he feels responsibility for Nate, just as he would to his own son, Henry, and give him the best possible path forward. I do think it's interesting it's on his chest of drawers at his apartment and not on his desk. And I feel like that says something else to Nate, that, oh, he doesn't even display it. It's not even on his desk.
Right. Whereas Nate has not been to the apartment, I'm assuming since Christmas, to know that that photo is in a place of honor.
Right.
Where you would typically put family members. So it's been a while that we've seen.
Yeah. And he may not have gotten into his bedroom, of course.
Because who would do that?
Right.
But I think it's difficult for Nate to not know where that gift went. But we, the audience, get to see that Ted has him in an elevated place of importance.
So Ted finally has a breakthrough with Dr. Sharon. We saw in the last episode, he calls her from just outside the stadium. But now he's actually sitting down and talking to her. And it's all started because he was getting ready for the funeral and he was getting dressed, of course, to Easy Lover. He believes that any man should be able to get ready in the length of time it takes to play Easy Lover. And in the midst of that, he starts having a panic attack. Or perhaps he was thinking about the funeral or his dad's.
Well, he actually says he didn't go to his dad's funeral. So maybe he's processing.
Is this his first funeral?
Right.
Wow.
I think it might be the first funeral for a lot of our characters, just based on how they're reacting.
First time in dress shoes.
For many of them.
So he has a panic attack and he calls Dr. Sharon. She races over, makes a house call. And we see as she comes in, his apartment is in shambles. Things are everywhere. And we've seen his apartment several times. So this is a clear difference. He's having a difficult time processing everything he's going through. He offers tea to Dr. Sharon, but she said, no, I hate tea. And he relaxes.
Said it tastes like a wet paper bag.
And I think that creates some unspoken bond between them, because he's obviously feels the same way about tea. But rather than make a joke, which would be his normal response, he just says, I'll tell you anything. And he sits down. And so I feel like that was the last barrier they had to cross for trust. And as silly as it might seem, the fact that she also hates tea, that was it. He's like, all right, I'm in.
You're my people. You get me.
And so we hear him say a pretty amazing statement here about his own father, that he quit. He quit in his family. He quit in himself. And I hated him for that. And Dr. Sharon does, I think, the right thing here. And she accepts and embraces that reaction. He said, of course you did. And you're perfectly understandable why you would hate your dad. And you were trying to process a very difficult thing. It's difficult for adults to process that, let alone a 16-year-old. And so this session for him is really, truly a breakthrough. And it allows him to recover well enough that he can actually make it to the funeral and support Rebecca at a very timely moment. And we have a lot going on in this episode emotionally for Rebecca. We already heard about this story with her dad, but she also, perhaps because of that, has the difficult conversation with Sam that they can't continue what they've been doing. She doesn't say these words, but I think she's not emotionally available.
No, she said that she's worried that she's going to get hurt. And I think that definitely indicates that she is not ready for a real relationship. It was fun for a couple of weeks. She has not healed from her prior relationship. So in a way, despite it hurting Sam, it's good for her to know who she is and what she wants first before entering into a relationship.
And I wonder if there's something about her father's infidelity, and she's having an affair with one of the players on her team. She is essentially his employer. So this is ethically wrong as well.
Right.
So maybe that struck a chord with her, and she thought, am I repeating my father's mistakes? And I need to be responsible. So shall we jump into music and musical theater and television?
Oh, there's so many in this episode. We're actually not going to call them all out.
No, there's too many to call out. But of course, we have to talk about the Rickroll. And this is the first, I think, in history, Rickrolled eulogy. She's up on stage to deliver a eulogy that she's completely unprepared for at all.
It didn't sound like she had one ready.
No. And so in that moment, she was stuck, and she had just woken up to Rick Astley's song, Never Gonna Give You Up, and decides to start almost talking it and then eventually singing it, which oddly kind of work in this circumstance.
Well, it's call and response for sure, which happens in church.
Yes.
I actually felt like this eulogy was not a eulogy for her father, but a reconnection to her mother. That is her mother's favorite song. They had just cleared the air between each other. And I think this was the easiest way for Rebecca to say, I see you.
She's never going to give her up.
Yeah.
And her mom in that conversation says, once I love something, I love it forever. And so is her saying that back to her mom.
Yep.
And then the final song I want to call out, it's called I Remember, and it's by Molly Drake. It tells of a relationship in which one remembers joy, and I feel like this is Deborah in our episode, and the other's memories are more negative, and I feel like that's Rebecca. I think there's an even deeper backstory. Molly Drake is the mother of the legendary singer-songwriter Nick Drake, who died tragically young at 26, and she lived many more years, died at 77 in the 90s. And only then did they release songs and poetry that she'd set to music. She was a beautiful singer and instrumentalist, and it adds a lot of depth and understanding to Nick's own musical upbringing. She struggled with depression in her life. You can hear that in these songs. It's really powerful. And so I wanted to make sure we included that in our recap of this powerful episode. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you tomorrow for our reaction to Season 2, Episode 11, Midnight Train to Royston. And our outro quote for the episode, I was never going to let anyone get by me without understanding they might be hurting inside.